Hi, everybody. Welcome to Meet the Mailers. I'm Paul Bobnak for Who's Mailing What, a direct mail 2.0 company. And today I'm talking with Justin Miller. He is the founder and president of Profit 911 Consulting in East Moline, Illinois. Now, before we get started, if you have any questions or feedback, please comment below. You can show your support by tapping the like button for videos like this, and you get notified of when we add new videos to the Who's Mailing What channel. Click on subscribe. Now let's meet the mailers. Hi, Justin. Welcome.
Hey, Paul. Good to see you.
Thanks. It's great to have you here today. So I thought we'd start off by talking about you and your background. How did you get started in your career, and what does your day-to-day job involve?
Yeah, so call it an accidental move into the arena of print and mail. So my real career first was weddings and special events.
Nice.
There is a connection in that we were using direct mail and print advertising in that business successfully. But then there was this evolution and transition into providing services first within that industry and then elsewhere. And it started as a digital marketing agency. 100% digital, doing conditional follow-up campaigns and multi-channel campaigns and all the CRM automation stuff, which is so commonplace now, but really wasn't back at the time. And it evolved or devolved, as we like to say, into a direct mail only agency. And now we are 100% direct mail and print, and all our other services we used to provide are gone, which puzzles a lot of people why.
Right.
With all the move and all the new tools and now AI on top of everything else, why on earth? And there were actually a couple of reasons for that. Number one is it was always a foundational piece of our marketing, print and direct marketing was. And we saw that we were getting success for my consulting clients with that channel easier than other channels. Not necessarily cheaper, but easier. And ultimately, the flip side is, as an agency providing services, we saw growth on that side a lot quicker, probably due to the results we were getting. And day by day, very rapidly, we devolved into only providing direct mail services.
Gotcha. So let's talk more broadly about Profit 911. As a marketing agency, can you just quickly run down the services that you provide?
Sure. Like I said, we've pruned a lot, so we're very focused these days. If it has a stamp and it goes out the door, we probably do it. But most of our stuff falls in a couple of categories. Most of our mail marketing is relational or referral. We don't do a lot of cold direct mail, which also puzzles a lot of people because that's what they think immediately. But we do a lot of relational marketing. So we do a lot of newsletters, which we can talk about in a little more detail later if you want. We do a lot of campaigns that are specifically to stimulate referrals, word of mouth, and retention. And that's our bread and butter. It looks a lot like personal mail. We've honed in on a lot of weird intricacies that don't really fit larger shops, since we are a smaller shop in the world of print. And yeah, a lot of number 10 envelopes with stuff in them, and a lot of self-mailer newsletters is the bulk of it.
Okay. Well, I mean, a lot of companies have made a lot of money and done very well for the clients doing that, right?
Yeah, it is a choice that has come based on what we've seen working.
So what types of services do you offer, maybe that your other competitors don't offer?
Cool. So tricky question for us, because I believe the industry is fairly commoditized.
Yeah.
Which I don't see as a problem, actually.
Right.
A lot do, but I don't think we have any services that others don't offer. It's more in how we offer them. So I'll twist the question a little bit that way. Most of our clients are not buying print and mail services, meaning they come to us at objective level, meaning I need new clients, or I need to grow one way or another. And we work with them through that entire process to ultimately, at the end of the day, arrive at a direct mail piece that will work for them. But it's that whole front end of taking a smaller business client that wouldn't get a whole lot of attention elsewhere and doesn't have the sophistication to do copywriting, graphic design, get a direct response piece out the door. Or they've started studying some of that and they're really excited about it and they're about to take a massive misstep. I think we all did as entrepreneurs, small business owners. You got really excited about something and didn't understand the other 90%, and we helped them through to maximize their chance of success. So at the end of the day, what goes out the door is 90% similar to what you could get elsewhere, but how we arrived at it's completely different.
Okay, cool. Well, I noticed like you talk a lot on the website about what you just briefly mentioned, which is small and medium businesses, right? We all know that postage has been going up dramatically the last couple of years, and it's basically the biggest portion of anybody's budget to deal with. So what kinds of things can marketers do to keep costs under control while maybe also keeping a leg in other channels, communication channels?
Yeah, so small and medium businesses are our bread and butter. Depending upon how you categorize, most of them I would call small businesses. A lot of them are professional service providers, so they're not traditional users of direct mail.
Right.
Sure, there's some in financial services, which is a big category. There's some in healthcare, but who we're serving tend to be smaller providers of those services. So yes, the postage and the overall cost of the campaign is a huge concern to them, especially with rolling price increases every 6 months, it seems like, in the recent past and foreseeable future. However, I have always kind of taken the attitude and therefore trained clients to adopt the attitude that as long as the math is still working and profitable, every time that postage goes up, there's less mail in that mailbox. And, the broader industry and the large players, that probably scares because they have their hands in a large chunk of that volume and it goes down. That's obviously a problem. For the small guys, they're positioned better to be able to take the hit, adjust quicker, track in a quicker manner. And ultimately, like I said, as long as they've priced their services appropriately to where there's enough margin, this is an incredibly viable channel and also not a substitute for other channels. So you mentioned other channels.
Right.
Yeah, I stopped offering digital services, but I'm not naive to it. And it certainly has its place in marketing and they all kind of lift each other. We just, as a provider, only focus on the mail side, but I still can't help myself if I see something way off to saying, hey, you might want to look at X, but unfortunately, I can't help you build that. But yeah, I mean, price increases, man, everyone's we get hammered with it at home. So at this point, it is what it is. They come through. We have to push them along, obviously. Our cost internally, not just postage, keep going up. So every 6 months, there's one of those price increase letters going out. And like I said, as long as they're tracking their math and it's still profitable at the end of the day, the game got easier because everyone that was kind of dipping their toes in the water, they got scared,
right.
Jumped out. And that's fine.
Right. And that's so important too, to be able to track where your response is coming from and knowing that, the response rate for a lot of digital channels is kind of low compared to, a mail drop that goes out for a lot of companies.
Yeah, sure. Higher cost per piece, hopefully more impact per piece, right?
So you mentioned newsletters before, so let's get into that. What is it about newsletters that makes them stand out to customers of your clients?
Yeah, so this is a foundational piece in, my marketing before we became an agency, long before, was a print monthly newsletter, and there's a few reasons I believe in them work. First off, I didn't invent the concept, obviously. I'm not old enough to do that. I learned a lot of the pieces I implemented from Dan Kennedy. I'm a direct response marketing guy. That's my world. So probably at some point it came from him. But our newsletters and what we encourage our clients to do is keep them lighthearted, personal, and fun. So for me, this was a natural fit. I came from the entertainment world initially. Yeah, it matched. But I don't care if our client is a podiatrist. It still should be entertaining and fun.
Right.
And this is tough. It's a struggle sometimes. It's a branding thing sometimes. And we have to dance the line a little bit. But if they send a corporate piece monthly, and it's just going to get thrown away, and they're all going to get thrown away eventually, right? But it's going to get thrown away without making an impact. So ours come across as if they could have produced them in the office themselves. And we like recipes, we like jokes, we like comics. But most importantly, we like personal things about the entrepreneur and owner. That's something a small business has that a larger business has trouble replicating.
Right.
Here's what's actually going on in the owner's life. And once they're willing to share that, and they've mailed that newsletter 5 or 6 months, they'll never stop mailing it because they'll start getting response. So if they send formal corporate garbage, you just waste everything. If they send, I was gonna say, if they send personal and heartfelt, this is probably the best bang for their buck of any piece of print that could go out the door.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people's eyes just to, they're Migo, my eyes glaze over when you read over, a lot of corporate talk and corporate jargon, and compared to, like you said, birthdays of people in the office, if you're a full office kind of thing, and their personal stories, because it allows the business owner to make that connection with their customer or their patient or client or what have you.
Well, and that's what they start seeing then, is they start seeing people coming in mentioning something they had read as if you're personal friends.
Right.
And then it evolves. Now, obviously, there has to be an ROI other than making people happy, right? So with the newsletters, on the larger distribution ones, we have call tracking and recording for several clients. And it's amazing, if you listen to call recordings, how many people chose to call the phone number off that newsletter as their point of entry into, say, a medical practice. So that phone number should be saved in their cell phone of the clinic. But for some reason, they're looking at the newsletter, and that's where they got it from. So reminding them you exist is important. Also, some of the calls are referral calls, which is quite interesting, which means the newsletter got passed along. Which, being an outsider to the industry, I always thought pass along was complete garbage and bull for a sales rep to help sell something. But now there's proof. It does happen. I don't think most of the people are not going to pass it along. So I wouldn't triple your distributorship. I've mailed 1,000 of these and it got sold by 3,000. Not that, but enough to make a significant impact does, which is crucial to this, particularly if it was fun newsletter or you happen to mention their name, then they're likely to show other people.
Right. And also, like the ability of that print piece just to sit around. Maybe it's on the coffee table, maybe it's on the nightstand, or coffee table, desk, something like that, refrigerator door. And,
that's the benefit we get in print that you don't get an email, right? You get, at a minimum, you have a few more seconds, but at a maximum, sometimes it's years. We do kind of an annual magazine catalog, magalog hybrid for our own services. And a couple of clients have followed suit with what they've seen us do. And it is quite amazing that particular piece, oftentimes over a year later, is mentioned. So it's just standing out, being different. And if you have something there that's valuable enough for them to keep around, they will keep it around. Particularly if you have a long sales cycle. I mean, a lot of print stuff's good for long sales cycle. It really helps sales reps build that.
I've seen that too in some B2B mail is like that, where we're 25 years and past the beginning of the internet, and there's still a few who do these mail pieces which run through their services, and maybe they'll send it out once a year or twice a year, but people still refer to that because otherwise you're just getting tons of email. Not a lot of people save their email for months and months. Or
look, it does a lot of the warm up and the heavy lifting for the sales rep, right? So human beings, even here, sitting in the office next to me, they're expensive and limited. And a lot of times they're catching sales rather than outreaching, just due to limitation of time. And the mail kind of helps fill that gap, and I guess gives them more to catch. But that's fine, as long as it lands at the end of the day.
So, in listening to your clients, what kinds of things do they say that are their biggest concerns right now?
Yeah, so they're always kind of shifting. I will say with the
Yes.
small business client ones, the biggest common theme is speed to response. So they don't actually
Mhm.
voice it, but it's voiced in sales objections and ROI conversations, and it's buried between the lines. Is, I'm putting money out on this. How quickly can I see a ROI, and how large a response should I get?
Right,
They've
right.
heard a lot of numbers if they started researching direct mail. Oh, I get a 1% response, 2% response, I'll be rich.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so we often are having expectations conversations around that, and letting them know, track your percentages, but dollars at the end of the day are what matter more than percentages. Did you make money or
Mm.
not? Because we can take a scrape down tiny list of your best customers and get a 50% response rate,
Mm.
or we can send to the white abyss and get less than a one, and both may be a success depending on the
Yeah.
message,
Right.
um, or what they're trying to do with it. So a lot of people that have never mailed before, that get excited about mail, believe that they're going to put something in someone's mailbox that will directly result in an immediate purchase, which is the pipe dream.
Hmm.
Are there examples? Sure.
Yeah.
Especially in direct response marketing world, absolutely. However, it's the hardest thing to do, bar none, and it
Hmm.
may not be necessary for success and business growth.
Hmm.
A
Right.
lot of times we're taking that conversation and bringing it around to things that will make a difference, in another way financially, but in another way other than an immediate new client direct sale.
Hmm.
I would say that. And then speed of response. So like we talked about, a lot of these things sit around, a lot build on each other. So like newsletters, I believe is probably the most impactful thing you can do. However, if you mail once, twice, three times even, and stop, don't mail at all.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
we think the magic number is after 5 or 6 months, like that thing starts really working. So that's a difficult conversation to have with someone that doesn't have the budget or patience to wait for that ROI.
Hmm.
Has to be had because that's really the expectation. The other thing is follow-ups. That's another one. I already mailed someone. Why should I mail them again? That's a concern. Am I wasting money? What happened on the first one? A winning list is a winning list. We'll take that any day.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
my concern as an agency owner, which is like the flip side of what you asked, is can the client sustain a success when we get it? So we're very cautious with what we mail, and we turn down a lot of work and don't mail for a lot of people that we consult with,
Hmm.
because we want this thing to have a better chance than not of success. Every once in a while, you get a slam dunk. And it's a
Hmm.
piece you can roll out as a control, as you and I would refer to it as, but the general world, not so much, about a piece that you can repeat and roll out elsewhere. And then the concern is, can the service provider, do they have capacity to deal with that? And oftentimes they don't in the businesses we deal with, which is, a shame to us because, we just want to repeat, repeat, repeat.
Yeah.
We
Right.
can't do that. But again, that's the dream. That's the best case scenario. It's not necessarily the norm, but it's fun when it happens.
Hmm. Yep. So you also provide automated handwriting solutions for mail. What kinds of correspondence are we talking about here?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways we use handwriting. Usually it's an enclosure to a larger piece.
Okay.
So usually it's an enclosure to a larger sales package, maybe a pre-consultation package going to someone that has your traditional literature, and we wanted to simulate the sales rep. Hey, take a look at this before we meet. Looking forward to something like that. So some transactional piece. Um, Obviously, there's some clients use them for birthday cards and stuff like that,
Right.
or free form handwriting. A lot of clients we have built into their CRM. They can type a couple sentences and bam, send it out.
Hmm.
We don't do a whole lot of handwriting at scale here. We typically will partner or refer that type of work out. It's another one of those that in the past, I don't know, probably 5 years, there's become a lot of service providers doing handwriting solutions. So internally, we don't have a massive capacity. And there are so many in the world that do a great job at it that we're happy to tie into their offerings.
Hmm.
Usually discussion around handwriting is cost versus benefit, as it is with everything. But that would typically be a direct mail piece that has a higher cost than anything else. And behind the scenes, it's because it doesn't matter what machine you concocted, it takes more time on a machine than anything else.
Yeah.
So it's cost versus benefit, and the discussion will turn to, all right, how sophisticated is the buyer? Can they tell a difference between a really good lasered handwriting font versus a pen on paper? And if they're that sophisticated, can they tell that the pen didn't move left to right? We're way down in the weeds at that point. So there are use cases for it, not a major portion of what we do. I think it's a very cool technology, by the way.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's better as a programmatic thing tied into a follow-up system.
Yep. Well, tell me about your podcast. I looked through a couple of your episodes and the big intro video you have on the homepage, and all the dinosaur theme and everything, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I guess we should talk about the dinosaur theme. Less people.
Yeah, and how does all that
crazy.
How does that all fit together?
So we are probably completely rebranding to Jurassic Marketing as our leading brand. We're in the middle. You'll see both of them right now, Profit 911 and Jurassic Marketing. Dinosaurs started as a theme for a presentation about direct mail to business owners. And it really hit as an entertaining, engaging way to relate a, quote, dying media or extinct media to the service provided. And I wrote a book called Jurassic Marketing along the same theme. And at this point, if you tour our office or you go to our website and watch the little intro video, you see the office. There's dinosaurs everywhere. We have dinosaur pinball machine. It's kind of nuts. So that's the dinosaurs. The podcast, our podcast, we don't take too seriously. So if anyone listens to an episode, they'll get that pretty quick.
That's all right, though. That's good.
Yeah, usually it's entrepreneurial business advice. It should be entertaining, much like the newsletters. We do have some clients that listen to it. It's interesting when they bring it up in sales conversations. Probably if we were more consistent on the release schedule, there'd be more. So it's like a surprise when you get one now. But I will say, as an aside, it wasn't the intent of the podcast, but it's been an amazing recruiting tool for us. I've probably had more job candidates that have listened to the podcast than clients, which is really interesting because that was not the intent of it at all. But oftentimes in that first or second interview with job candidates, they're bringing up things they heard in the podcast. So really neat media. We haven't maximized the value of it like we probably could. But yeah, it's there. It's entertaining. It's just a Profit 911 podcast. And it's most likely, if you listen to a random episode, it's something about direct response marketing. But every once in a while, we get to the fringes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you said, it's a great tool for a lot of reasons. But it's interesting that job candidates will look at it too, because like a lot of things, it puts that human face on the company, and having that connection early on.
Yeah, and honestly, our account reps probably should, use it more as a tool. If they need more explanation on something, they can say, "Hey, listen to this episode." But so there's a lot of ways to use it once it's produced. It's also an outlet just to discuss entrepreneurial things and vent sometimes. And like I said, it's all around small business, but sometimes the topics are a little random. We had one that was about women's college basketball and the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. Following her around for a while, and yeah, it's neat.
Very cool. So what kind of trends do you see overall speaking for direct mail the next couple years?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think we're going to see more of what we have as far as volumes declining, big players getting out or stripping down their pieces to keep the cost down. Overall, at a macro level, I don't see more small guys using it. It doesn't matter to me, though. I'm like a tiny fraction of the industry. I'll keep mine. I think people are going to just watch that budget even closer. When we're talking to entrepreneurs, let's be honest, they haven't thought about a budget.
Right.
But they see the charges on their card when things go out.
Sure.
I try to keep my finger on the pulse of the industry, but not get caught up in shiny objects. This was an interesting industry to learn from the outside in. It was kind of a pain. A lot of the processes, equipment, software seemed very antiquated when I came from the digital side over to the direct mail side.
Right.
So they're a little behind on that stuff. DM 2.0 is probably like the most, I mean, the highest tech offer tied to direct mail. That's an off the shelf type thing.
Right.
For
Right.
sure.
That's part of the whole intention. Sure.
Yeah. It was a lot of what we were doing on the digital side in a very simplified manner to be implemented easily from what I saw. So hopefully you guys continue gaining traction with that, because I think there's use for it. But I don't see any macro changes overall other than continued price increases. I don't think anyone's stopping that monster. It's out now. So it's just important that people track, and I try and keep them to the basics and tried and true. And I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I got caught up on shiny marketing object for a good decade or more. And I try and bring them back to those fundamental things and the basic human psychology behind the pieces, and just stay focused on that and run the course.
Right. And track everything.
Yeah, as much as possible.
Yeah.
Should annoy you if you can't track it. Sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
And there's channel bleed, obviously. They have to be aware of that. But at the end of the day, you make the decisions you can with the information you have. And if you see something will work, by God, increase it while it still works. It doesn't mean it's going to work forever.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's one direct mail piece that, you may have received recently that made you stop and pay attention and maybe even respond to?
Yeah. So you had mentioned you may ask this question. So
Yeah.
So I think a little different than most people, because I'm in the industry. I'm looking to see, is this a permit imprint? How much do they spend to reach me? So I tried to eliminate all the stuff as a marketer I responded to, because it's very easy to fall into the trap that we're our client. And I wanted to provide you some advice that's more useful than that. Like if you and I receive a handwriting piece, we're trying to figure out what kind of machine it was done on.
Every time, yeah. Among other things, yeah.
I assure you that's not what the end consumer is doing, though.
No.
So I got two that came to mind, and one was really simple. It was a postcard piece about an annual event for an organization. It's Genius Network. I guess I'll give them a plug. Joe Polish is the leader of that. And I was not a member at that point, and that was the piece that grabbed enough of my attention to make me be a member. Now, I'd been aware of this group for over 5 years. The cost to join at the time was $25,000. It's more now. So it was one of those things that, wasn't a huge priority. You knew it was there. It was fairly pricey investment. But the one piece finally got them out of the internet world into my physical desk world, and it sat there long enough for me to sign up for the event. So that was one. The second one I got from my bank, which is interesting. They're not always the smartest of marketers. Certainly they're consumers of direct mail, but not always from a direct response hat, the most sophisticated. And I talked about it on one of my podcasts, actually, because it was a package. Let's see if I might have it. So I do. Hey, we're live. So I got this.
Awesome.
And in my world, this is called a shock and awe package. But it came unannounced out of nowhere. Going through here, we have. Oh, I ate it. We did have this nice wrapped cookie with their logo on it. We had a magazine piece, like I talked about, which usually sits around for a year or so.
Okay.
We have a card with some handwriting, like we talked about.
Right.
Card in there. I think there was a handwritten one too. Yes. It was real handwriting, by the way.
Right. Nice.
We have a book. That was a gift.
Okay. Wow.
So this really impressed me because it matches everything we teach. And I never had this discussion with the bank. And they didn't quite, I think they put it together on their own too. Like they didn't have anyone teach them that formula, but it has everything you and I talked about. It has the handwriting piece that's personal and does the heavy lifting. It has the stay behind. It has the impact. Obviously, you can't do this at like massive scale, but you can certainly do it for people that are important enough to receive it.
Exactly.
And that is still sitting on my desk. That thing came 2 years ago.
Very cool.
So that was done very well. It wasn't done by me.
No,
similar stuff, but it was done very well and certainly had an impact for them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap things up for today. How can people get in contact with you or with Profit 911 for a consultation and for more information about the solutions that
Sure,
we
just
offer.
yeah, hop on profit911.biz. There's a couple of things to do when you get there. One, there's like a 3-minute video on the homepage,
Right.
which should be entertaining. We'll leave it at that.
Yep.
You might further find your way to a 10-minute video that's more about this philosophies and the psychology of direct mail. And if you still want more, obviously you can schedule a consult. That's pretty easy to find. But if you still want more information, my Jurassic Marketing book, just contact us from the website, send me an email, find me on social, whatever. I'm happy to send that to you free of charge. Anyone. We got
awesome.
I'm here. If not, we'll print more. So a gift to you. You can go on Amazon and get it if you want, but I'm happy to send it to anyone for free.
Awesome. Well, Justin Miller of Profit 911, thank you so much for being my guest today on Meet the Mailers. And thank all of you out there for joining us today as well. Remember that questions and feedback are always welcome, and to tap those like and subscribe buttons. If you want to be featured in a feature episode of Meet the Mailers, please reach out to me. All the contact info is found in the paragraph below by tapping Show More. And we can talk about how we can showcase your company, your solutions, and your thought leadership as well. Thanks again for watching Meet the Mailers, and see you next time.